Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to look at how you can talk when you visit a bank, right? All of us have some anxiety about speaking up in front of strangers, especially where we need something done. There is an added stress of the job being done. At the same time, you're worried that you may not be able to communicate your problem clearly because there is a double anxiety there, communication problem as well as the problem for which you are visiting the bank or the doctor or any place for that matter. So in most cases it's simply just opening a bank account. That seems to be the reason for visiting a bank. Nowadays you can just open your account from your phone itself, or sometimes there are online banking wherein you can open your account without having to visit a bank. But most of the time you really have to make that visit, and in that case you need to talk to the clerk or the bank manager for the first time, if it's the first time that you're opening account. Or sometimes you need to get a new checkbook, or probably you've lost your passbook and you need a new passbook, or maybe a new ATM card, or probably getting a debit card, or it could be you probably want to borrow some money on loan. There are so many reasons why one visits a bank. The list are aplenty, but um, the point remains that if you can converse properly, if you can converse clearly, there isn't there shouldn't be any problem for you to uh, you know to state your expectations and have them fulfilled to some extent, or try to understand what the problem is. So basically conversation is essential. Conversational skills are essential no matter where you go or what you do. So in this case, he says, I just happened to come across a couple of blog spots created by bankers as to what the main difficulties are. We'll look into them, and we'll work through some exercises as to some of the conversations between a banker and a customer. All right, a banker is a manager, bank manager, or and a customer. Banker is different from bank manager, so let's not get that confused. So, speaking of the cases, he says, this is one person who says that more than 31% of consumers across Europe and the US felt in control when they last spoke to their bank. That is far less than those who associated a negative emotion while talking to their bank, with 43% of us feeling frustrated, nervous, worried, or annoyed. So this is seems to be a common problem with people, those who can converse well. Okay, even those who can converse well, they end up being frustrated, nervous, worried, or annoyed. All right. See, the main problem is that the customer and the bank seem to have two completely different conversations. Okay, because see, the bankers use so many banking jargons that the customers are not entirely familiar with, not unless you have made too many visits to the bank and are have learned over time what they exactly mean when they use a specific jargon, right? So unless not many of us are familiar with the concept of what the difference is between a checking account and a saving account, or what a fixed deposit is, or what percentage of interest would go upon a certain amount of money. All of this we are not familiar with. So these need to be explained by the banker in very simple terms. As I said earlier, the professionals need to keep it as in keep it stupid and simple and stupid. They need to follow this one particular idea, but at the same time we need to equip ourselves with those concepts beforehand. So it's better to do your homework before you go. So we'll just make a run through some basic probably necessities or requirements for before you visit a bank, before you go to a bank. All right. So So it's mainly the way the bankers speak, the way the banker, the managers or the clerks, the ones working in the bank, approach conversation is rigorous, logical, and by the book, that the customer ends up feeling like the bank isn't really there to help them and is only trying to protect the company's own interests. So the way the bank, the people at the bank talk, it actually makes you feel at a less advantageous place. It keeps you vulnerable. It makes you feel vulnerable uh, for for them. I mean, for their probably some duplicity. We suspect duplicity, which may or may not be there. So it's better to have a very clear picture of what they are talking about and not get duped at the same time. I mean, see, there are possibilities. You cannot trust anyone implicitly, right? You need to know, you need to figure out, you need to experience some things. So before you have a very bad experience, it's better to be cautious to some extent. But when things are unavoidable, you need to take the plunge, right? So making the conversation work for you, we've got some 5 points here. We'll just go through them, quickly. First of all, do your homework. So this not merely applies to the bank alone, it applies to every single aspect. No matter where you go, you need to remember that before you go, whether it's an institution, if you're going for higher studies, you need to do your homework. You're going to take up a job somewhere, you need to do your homework. You whether you're probably worried about some health problems, you need to do your homework. Of course, don't do it so much that you start panicking about it. I mean, like, because thinking too much would actually make you too anxious, and you'd be so afraid to talk that you wouldn't be able to open your mouth at all. And that's not the kind of homework I'm asking you to do. Do not panic. Do not frustrate yourself too much. Do not exert yourself too much. But some exertion is necessary. So don't go blindly into anything. Okay, even if you're planning a trip, and even if you're going on a vacation, it's necessary to do your homework. It's necessary to find out where you're going, why you're going, whether your objective of taking a trip, taking a vacation, is going to be fulfilled by visiting that place, right? So, well, I'm digressing here, but the point remains that no matter where you go, what you do, what you plan to do, it is necessary for you to know beforehand at least something about you, some working knowledge of your plans. Okay, so do your homework. Whether you're asking about a product or for advice on reaching a life goal, spend 20 minutes before you call reading up on the different options and language used to discuss them. Because see, the point here is use of language. Use of language as in, well, you may say that we are just using English, but then the way the doctors speak, and the way an engineer speaks, or the way an accountant speaks, the way a psychiatrist speaks, or the way a bank manager speaks, all these are different languages, even though they belong to English, even though they may be speaking English. But the terms they use, the jargons they use, it all would make you feel as if they are all speaking different languages, right? So if you are worried about certain terms, here's an overview of what banking jargon really means. So we'll go here and look into what the banking jargon is like. All right, so see, there is an arranged overdraft. Arranged overdraft would be when you and your bank agree on a set of amount of money you can have access to and spend beyond your bank account balance. Now, this does not happen often unless you are in a business or you are making for special request arranged overdraft. Okay, so this arrangement outlines both how much money you can spend once your bank balance drops below zero, and also the combination. So this would be mainly in case of businesses. Okay, again, credit rating score would be how reliable you are in terms in financial terms. Okay, as in say for instance, you haven't had any you haven't had that you have been paying your credit card bills properly, very properly in your past, then your credit card rating would be high. Whereas if you have been, if you've had overdues, too many dues, and you haven't been very meticulous about paying your credit card bills, then of course your ratings would keep gradually reducing. Okay, so how so this sort of is important for the banker to know, because in case you are expecting, in case you are making a requisition for a loan, they will look into your credit card rating or credit card score. And accrued interest would be the additional money you owe on a loan. Okay, so there are other terminologies. I'll just run through them, but I'll also send this link. Send this link probably in your group or in the classroom itself, so that you just go through it once. Okay, so that you'll have some understanding of what these mean. Okay, so there are the accrued interest. I've already talked about accrued interest to you. It's the additional money you owe on a loan that has accumulated since you received the money or asset. So whatever money you have or asset you have received, okay, that money, and any additional money that you owe to or for the loan, okay, that has accumulated over time, that's what this additional money would be. Okay, so that's what the accrued interest is. So when you start paying the money, the first amount would go for the interest, this accrued interest that has accumulated over time. Only after you have fulfilled or completed this, this accrued interest, only after that your original sum that you have borrowed, that you will be paying off. Okay, so that's what accrued interest means. And then you have annual percentage rate. Again, this shows the overall cost of borrowing a sum of money. Now this is very different from the interest rate that you are paying, because this actually gives you a tool to compare the overall cost of different lenders. All right, and there is a standing order that's it's an instruction you give to your bank, asking them to pay a fixed sum to a recipient on a regular basis. As in, like, if you have see, for instance, an employer, he is he gives a standing order to the bank to pay his pay his employees some amount on a regular basis. So that would be a standing order. I mean, it's not merely, it's not technically jargon used in banking, but it is used in several different fields. Okay, so, and yes, any questions, whenever you have this, any questions, so you need to ask them about it. So you need to do your homework, and then make a plan. Write out the top 3 things you want to achieve from the call. I mean, there are, when you are making a call to the bank, and you expect some answers, expect some results, make it productive. Whenever you make a call to the bank or any place for that matter, let it be productive. And that is possible only when you ask specific questions. Okay, because see, our mind is sometimes so confused that we do not know which one to prioritize, and we end up asking stupid questions and leave out the important ones. So it's necessary that you prioritize your doubts and expect to have those clarifications. All right, and don't be too annoying to ask questions that you already know the answer of, just because you're a little mildly confused. Don't make it your top priority. So make a plan. Doing this will help you guide the call down the path you need it to take, rather than getting stuck in a customer service maze. And when you're talking to a bank, make sure you agree what happens next for each element. See, sometimes, most of the time, it's quite irritating for people to go through this automated call services, right? So where you get automated responses, dial 1 for this, dial 2 for this, and then you have to go for main menu, and then like previous menu or whatever. Most people hate it. But then it is actually a very good tool. It's a great tool if you have some patience and understand the questions asked. All right, so this will actually ease your process, ease your process, is in help you solve your problems more effectively than in a human communication. Because the automated service is depends is designed on predictability, on the kind of questions usually received at a call service station. All right, be very clear about what you wish to know, and listen closely to what is being said in the automated services. All right, and when you're talking to the bank, make sure you agree what happens next for each element of the plan, so both you and them know who is doing what. Outline exactly what you need. First of all, you need to outline. Start the conversation by outlining clearly what you need and why. It's best to say upfront exactly what you're looking for rather than spread the details out piecemeal. It means the person on the other end of the conversation knows from the start what they need to go through to help you to succeed. See, when you approach, even in direct contact with a manager, with a bank clerk or someone, it is better to state very clearly. See, if you're going for a joint account, make sure that you are talking about joint account, not merely about I want to open an account and then I want to open in my name, or can I add someone else in my in that account, or does it have to be a major, or is it okay if it's a minor that I add into it, or who is going to benefit from it. I mean, see, initially start off with the specific exact term. Okay, that would clear away half the questions. All right, nobody has so much time to talk about everything in detail. So if you are specific, if you've done your homework, you will be specific. All right, so you'll know what you're talking about. So when you approach with the specific terminology. All right, so that you avoid any future confusions, and then it'll be easier for that person to help you out with whatever you need to do. That person will tell you the procedures you need to follow, the forms you need to fill and submit, and what additional data or document you are required to submit along with it. All of it will be told to you beforehand. In the first meeting, in the first few minutes, everything will be clear. So you won't have to spend too much time circumlocuting about the entire process, and you can just go directly to the point, and procure whatever you need to, whatever you came for, whatever purpose you need to fulfill. Okay, whatever intent you had. So don't be afraid to ask. As I said, ask questions. Well, it was about asking questions directly to the customer care service in case you have had any doubts about the special terminologies. There are plenty of other terminologies. We just touched upon a few here. So try not to be intimidated by the atmosphere. I mean, whenever I visit a bank, I find it kind of sort of intimidating in the sense everyone has this very serious face and everyone is so busy that it's as if like it's written all over the face, do not disturb. The clerks seem to have this huge placards posted on their foreheads, do not disturb, I'm busy. So it is sort of intimidating, no doubt about it, and it would be doubly so for someone who is unable to converse well. So try not to be afraid and ask. When you ask questions, you'll be able to clear your doubts. And of course, there is a limit to doubts, because we have come across so many people who have unnecessary doubts that that cannot be validated at all. Just try to stick to things that are most important so that you don't muddle up everything. All right, and use some common sense. And how do you get common sense? Through experience. So you do need to experience. Just because you're afraid, don't hide yourself out. Okay, so there are advisors, there are people who will help you. Do not be intimidated or afraid to ask them to explain in a different way. So if you don't understand something, it's okay to ask them to explain in your own mother tongue at times if necessary. But surely this is a conversation English class, so I should encourage you to talk mainly in English. Recap at the end. Once you're happy with how the conversation's gone, recap everything you've discussed and agreed with the advisor to ensure you're both on the same page. Now this recapping thing, some people take it very literally. They try to go verbatim from the top to the bottom, word by word. Please don't do that. When we say recap, it means that you hint on the important points that you have already discussed, so that there is clarity on both sides. All right, so this recapping is essential in every meeting, because it shows that you have actually listened to whatever was said, and at the same time it helps those who are not clear about those points to get it cleared, those doubts getting clarified. And of course, repetition reinforces memory. All right, it boosts memory, it helps your memory in retaining whatever you've heard. All right, so recapping is a very good practice whenever you approach something or someone or some topic or some experience. All right, so make a checklist and work through them. Cover your plan, ask the questions you want, and any terms you need clarified. So this will give you a structure to work through and the satisfaction of ticking off each element as is covered off. So this is a very, see, psychologically speaking, having a checklist and marking them off, it's very, very satisfying. Very, very satisfying in the sense it makes you feel as if you have done something, okay, something worthwhile. So make a practice of it, make a habit of it, that whenever you approach, see, even if you're going to apply for a job or like apply for some higher education, make a list of things that you need to, or even if you're planning for a wedding, make a list of things. Okay, this has been a practice of our elders, for a long time now. So see to it that you have a checklist and mark them off one by one, and go prepared whenever you visit a bank. Go prepared with the mindset that you are going to spend as little time as is possible, and be prepared also to stand in long queues if need be. Nowadays the queues have sort of receded quite a bit. It's not as it was even 2 years ago, right? There's a huge change in the banking scenario. But be prepared to spend as little time as is possible, mainly because you are prepared in every which way, that you've done your homework, you know exactly what you wish to know. And also be prepared for any eventualities, as in, if there is a too much crowd, don't lose your patience, don't get annoyed or frustrated, and be prepared to wait for your turn. Okay, and make it easy for everyone, for yourself, for the clerks there, and for the people around you. Okay, see, beyond all knowledge is manners. Okay, above all knowledge is your manners. So how well behaved you are matters more than how well you know things. Okay, so it does not mean you don't need to get educated at all. Education is necessary for your own development, but character, morals, manners, these are what will define you, not your degree. Of course, degree is essential. Just because Arshiya ma'am tells you not to take a degree, Arshiya ma'am says that degree isn't important, she does not mean you don't need a degree. Of course, degree is necessary to some extent, but beyond degree, beyond any kind of qualification, beyond any kind of education, is your manners. Okay, so always be polite while talking to people, because not because they deserve it, but because you are polite yourself. Okay, so there you will come across plenty of people who are very rude, who are ill mannered, who are corrupt, who don't deserve an iota of respect. You will come across all of those people, but remember, you yourself are a very good person, and you are being polite for your own sake, not for their sakes. All right, please remember all of this. Inshallah, we'll okay, we do still have some more time. I thought I'll close here, but then no, I'll continue with some of the exercises I spoke about. All right, we'll do some of those exercises, and then we'll finish for today. So here's a sample conversation for you at the bank. Customer: good morning, can I cash a check here? Counter clerk: please go to the first counter on the left side. Customer: thank you. Is it the teller system there? Counter clerk: yes sir, you will get your money instantly there. Customer at the first counter: excuse me, I want to get this check cashed. Counter clerk: yes sir, please sign on the back of your check. Right? Customer: okay, here you are. Just a minute sir, I need 1,000 rupees notes only. I'm sorry, I have only 500 rupees notes. If you can wait, I will get some 1,000 rupees notes as well. See, a very polite conversation. You start off with good morning, and you ask for a very simple, straightforward question. Can I cash a check here? Can I do this here? Or can you help me with this something like that, and they will direct you. And once you are done, once you are directed there, you can promptly thank them for their service, their help, and if you have any additional question, you can ask them. Now when you ask for, once again, when you go to that particular counter, you repeat your question with an excuse me or excuse me sir, if you don't mind. These are the phrases that you commonly use at the beginning of making a request. Okay, when you enter a bank or some place, even if you are going for shopping, you can use this word excuse me sir or excuse me. Don't worry about the age of that person, whether they are younger than you or they are older than you, or whether they are professionally you think that you are superior or something. Please don't have any of those comms constraints in your mind. Be of a very open-minded nature and address everyone with respect, whether it be a bus driver, a conductor, or an auto rickshaw driver, or a bank clerk, or a doctor, or a head of an institution. Doesn't matter. Everyone deserves the same kind of respect, or even if they don't deserve it, you deserve to be polite to everyone. Okay, fine. So okay, here you are. Just a minute. Okay, fine. We'll move on to the next conversation. So continuing, after saying like you are asking for 1,000 rupee notes only, and the clerk doesn't have 1,000 rupee notes, and if he tells you, most of the time they will tell you this is all they have and you can leave, because nobody has time to go and get back with further notes for you. Sometimes if they are doing you a favor, if you're already a familiar figure there, that you have visited often, and you are on friendly terms, they do acquiesce to such respect, favors. But most of the time they would give you a straightforward no, I'm sorry, we don't have it. Now if that person is saying that yes, you can wait for some time, I'll get it, the customer could simply say thanks, I won't like to wait any longer, 500 notes are all right with me. So the counter clerk, here is your cash, sir. Please ensure that you have got exactly the right amount. So before you leave the bank, always make sure that you count the money you've got in your hands. Okay, of course there are missions to count the notes, and it rarely makes any mistakes, but it's necessary for your own sake. We are psychologically trained that way. Unless we count it for ourselves, we don't trust anyone else. So it's better to count it yourself before you put it in your pocket. So thank you. I shall definitely count my money before I leave. Counter clerk, thank you very much. Have a nice day, sir. So please practice it yourself at home. Okay, you are at home, no doubt about it. Now, when there is an example for telephone banking, and this is where most common errors seem to occur, because face-to-face interaction removes certain uncertainties, but in telephone banking there are possibilities for many, there is more room for errors here, more room for mistakes here. Good morning, Citibank. This is customer service department. How may I help you? Whenever, most of the time we get automated services, but sometimes there are call centers that actually respond to you with a human voice behind it, not automated machines. Okay. Customer, hello, I'd like some information on the telephone banking services offered by you. Simple question. Hello, I'd like some information on the telephone banking services offered by you. Now this is something that is very general. What kind of telephone banking services do you have? Okay. Executive, certainly. What is your account number, sir? So at the MG Road branch. What would you like to know? Can you tell me how the telephone banking services work? You can do all your day-to-day banking over the telephone 24 hours a day. That's great. How do I access my account? Just call so and so, key in your PIN number, and listen to the menu of options available. How do I choose the option I want? Just press the number for the service stated by the recording. What kind of things can I do? You can check your balance, pay your bills, order a statement, request for checkbook, DD, or even transfer money to another bank. That's fantastic. Can I trade stocks and bonds? I'm afraid you will have to have a special account for that. What about getting help if I have any problems? There's an automated answering machine, and staff are available 9 to 5, 7 days a week. It all sounds very good to me. I'd like to sign up. All right. Can you answer a few more questions, please? Certainly. See, it's a very step by step process and very, very clear. But generally, we do not complete our sentences when we speak. So that's one of the problems, or you could say one of the causes that creates these problems, right? So, what you can do is, yeah. So what you can do is try to stick to important points. Focus on important points. Okay. So instead of like all this is well and good, all this is fine, you could simply ask, can you tell me something about, if you want to simplify it further. Okay, instead of going to say, I'd like some information on telephone banking services offered by you, uh, you could say, can you give me, can you give me some information on the telephone banking services offered by your bank? Or you could say, and here in this case, see, you could skip this part and you could go with, can you tell me how to access my account? I mean, if you really want to be specific. And because see, it sort of like seems unnatural, at least to me it seems unnatural. Nobody says that's great all the time, right? And these are the things that could be avoided, because like if the person says there is a recorded machine that lists you a menu of options you can choose from those, whatever services you require from our bank, then you should have to go for that first, and in case you have any problems regarding it, you can come back to talking to this executive. Okay, customer executive. So it's you should know when to cut the call, when to finish your conversation. All right. So it's mostly common sense. What you do, how you talk with people, it's based on common sense. See, there was a time when okay, there are times when you talk to people unendingly, your conversation doesn't seem to end, and you do get a feeling sometimes that the person is not really all that interested in hearing you out, right? But this is something that you learn over time. Only when you start talking to people, only when you start interacting with people, when you take in charge. Because most of the time what I have seen is people are afraid to take in charge, people are afraid of taking responsibility, mainly because of the fear that they will be condemned, they'll be mocked at by others, those who are seeing them talk. All right. I believe I've gone long enough. I'll just cut my lecture here off and continue in the next class. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum.